you for letting me pay for all of this evening. And if you didn't bring your checkbook, Mr. Sherline has his checkbook. I've seen a lot of my wonderful friends here this evening, and it's just been absolutely wonderful. Now, I turn the mic over to Sweetheart, and I step back that I love you. I will always be there for you, Maud, and my nieces. Thank you.
You know, several years ago, on a bended knee while in prayer, she asked God for one thing, that if you would bless her, help her, and take her through this journey, that she would bless and help others. And I think that's a promise that you haven't broken yet. Please, everyone, help me thank LaDoris for her wonderful hospitality. An amazing event, an amazing home, and an amazing hostess. First, we'd love to bring up a special guest, Capri Maddox from Jim Fuhrer's office. She's going to present Mr. Johnson with the proclamation.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to be here on behalf of Mr. Mike Fuhrer, the elected city attorney. He is in Ecuador at this time. We have a proclamation from our office to share with you, but I'd just like to say a few words for a moment. First of all, a lot of bankers in the city are actually avoiding getting documents from the city attorney's office. But you are someone, you're not only a banker, and that's the thing that's so special about you. I mean, you're a crime fighter. You do so much for the city in so many ways. And Mr. Fuhrer is smart enough to know he can't arrest his way or do an injunction out of crime in this city. And so we need our community partners. A lot of you guys are here in this room. I see Mr. Mack here, so thank you so much for being here, sir. Really means a lot to see you here and your continued service as a community. But I'd like to also say that we have so many people from the city family that are present. I've been meeting you guys. All the city people, can you please raise your hand? Or actually come up here and present this with me. Mr. Mack, I think it's someone from sanitation. Who else is here on behalf of the city? You're a commissioner elected. Oh, I see we have someone coming up. I didn't expect a big cheese, a councilman to come off the woodwork. But this is a testament to what Cliff has provided for the city family. Monty, and I'd like you to come up as well. She takes care of our Black History Month. When I was president on the Board of Public Works, she did so much work. And these are people who do what they don't have to do. I mean, Cliff is someone, he's one of my mentors. He's calling to check on me when he's dealing with some of his challenges. And and there's so many people in this room that said the same thing. So you all did what you didn't have to do when you didn't have to do it. So now we're going to send you off. My husband as well, Kermit is somewhere in the back. You still eating, baby? So now you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. But we're still going to call you and we're still going to love on you now and always. Councilman, thank you. Councilman Price, can you come to this picture, sir? All right. You won the election.
Never stop running.
I think each of us can attest that when you're at work, the people that you work with, they just become our extended family. We're at work more than we're at home. And when we're at home, we're at work. So it's not unusual that your work family really takes on your family issues. It takes on your strength. It really becomes an extension of helping us build and grow in the jobs that we so love. And Cliff isn't a stranger to the work that he loves. But in front of us, there's always a leader. And most of us are always thankful that we're led in the work that we do by someone that not only cares about the company that we're working at, but that they care about us. And I think for today, Mr. Steve Sherline, who will be, here's
I should
Steve.
talk to my clip.
He has spent the last years of Mr. Johnson's life at Union Bank leading him. And so we're going to turn the mic over to him to give some recognition to obviously a job well done.
Obviously, I don't agree with that statement because Cliff's been leading me, if anybody knows Cliff. But I want to make sure that we do say some thank yous that may have been missed. And again, Ladoris, where'd you go?
Oh, here I am.
There you are. Thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate you so much. But someone, sometimes people are back in the shadows a little bit, but who deserve tremendous recognition. And one of the people who deserves to be thanked tonight is Marty. Not only has she been community supporter, has been great to all of us, but behind every professional is someone who supports that profession, who makes the things that they do possible. And she's been that person, so she deserves plenty of thanks tonight. For 32 years, let's sink that in for a minute. 32 years, Cliff Johnson has served the clients of Union Bank and most importantly, this community. And through that time, he's not leaving you on shallow ground. He's mentored people inside the office. Ray Cherry, who's going to be assuming a lot of his responsibilities, has been a friend and partner for 20 years. You've got Sanjay Chigani, where's Sanjay? There he is, back here, and Cheyenne Artelin, who are going to be taking over for the responsibilities of Cliff. So he's not leaving you hanging. He has trained the people who are going to replace him. And so those people will be there for you today. And I had, Ray and I were talking, I had kind of a hard time thinking about what I was going to say about Cliff tonight, and it dawned on me that I could tell you about all the bridges he's built in the community. I could tell you all the great accomplishments at the office. But the thing that sticks to me most is I envision all the lives that he's touched. There's not a life in this room that Cliff Johnson hasn't had an impact on. And there's something that some of you know, that his involvement with the Boys and Girls Club and how deep his commitment there has been. And in my life, I've had the opportunity to mentor some young people through some difficult times. And one of the most gratifying things that's ever happened for me is to have one of those people come back 10 or 15 or 20 years later and say, thank you, you made a difference in my life, and I am where I am because of the guidance you gave me when I was a young person. And I think of the dozens, maybe hundreds of people that Cliff Johnson must have had that impact on. So you may be retiring, but your impact lasts for generations. So, small token before I step off, because I was told to be clear, be brief, and be gone. Ladoris, I do more than write checks. I did want to present Cliff Johnson with a award for his 32 years of service. This is Cliff. Thank you. We love you. Life of the party. Thank All right.
Let me take a moment to introduce you to Cliff's family. To the right side, the left side, and the whole heart, Miss Ma Johnson. And then there's two little ones that aren't so little anymore. Lynn and Stephanie. This is the Johnson family.
We're retiring too. They made me come to Union Bank. I'm gonna be the big employee.
Look at her, she's promoting.
Marty, come here. So before we let Marty go, we should probably all just bend our head and just have a prayer. Forgot to bless Marty. When your man comes home after 32 years, and you're ready to go. But you get on your nerves. I want you to remember that you asked for him to come home early. And now, all stay home. So, can I get an amen? Amen. So let me, before we really bring up the honored guest, Mr. Mack, always a pleasure to be in your company. Mr. Kern Price, I am the reason for his start. If you don't know, we started at McDonnell Douglas together. And we said, hey, you need to be a politician. And he left us to be one, and he's absolutely phenomenal. So, Mr. Price, we'd like to mention everyone who's here because all of you are so, in your own right, so prestigious with fame. And we just couldn't name everyone because then I'd forget someone, and then someone would be mad. So thank all of you for coming and giving up your time. But to Mr. Johnson, in the 11 years that I have so gracefully been your human resource manager, managing your business, I would like to say you've always been a gentleman. You've always been so wonderful and so dynamic. I immediately was attached to Cliff for the work that he does in the community. I'm from New Orleans. I'm from a very poor area, and a lot of the things that I wanted to do, I couldn't do, but I remember wishing that I could be participating in something, and someone who worked for a company, who made a donation, who was so generous to say that I want to help a family. And I was a recipient of one of those gifts on many, many occasions. And so the work that he does is just takes me all through my childhood, that someone helped my family who helped me. And while we didn't know why they came in and brought us food and presents, as an adult we understand that our parents couldn't, and that they cared, a company cared enough to find us in an area that someone wasn't looking. And Cliff is always looking for someone like me. He has defined for each of us, in his own right, the meaning of each one help one. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring up a very tall gentleman who 100 years ago, we found him blowing his saxophone in a Playboy Jazz Club. I don't know if he was really blowing his horn or if he was just looking at the bunnies, but he sure was making some good music. And then we swooped him up, and he became a banker for 20 years from Union Bank also. And then he left us so that he could travel the world just off the plane from South Africa, all through the continents, helping that country understand financial learning and investments, the things that they want to do, they see us doing, and they just don't know how to get started. He's a trailblazer, making things happen. He is our friend, Tom French.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Where do I begin? How can I possibly do justice to the man we're celebrating here tonight, Mr. Clifton L. Johnson? Yeah, I can talk about the many boards of directors he has helped to guide, the careers, including mine, that he has helped to shape and give life. The incredible relationships he maintains with the poorest children of Watts, or the celebrity superstars of the NBA, NFL, and other athletic endeavors. We could also explore his relationships with major figures in entertainment, law, or medicine, in addition to the stalwarts of finance and commerce. The invited guests and attendees at this reception tonight include world-renowned professionals, icons in philanthropy, and the community, as well as political leaders, all of whom have made an imprint both here and in the U.S. and abroad. When we stop for this very special moment to pay tribute to this very special man, we all know beyond any shadow of a doubt that Mr. Johnson has lived a life that matters. Born in Abilene, Texas, even now only 117,000 people, Mr. Johnson's humble beginnings always stressed the importance of family, hard work, and community. His mom cooked at a bank, and his dad was responsible for maintaining the physical plant of wealthy professionals in small companies. Cliff's dream began at 12 years of age when he was given a tour of his mom's bank, the First National Bank of Abilene, and he was so impressed that then and there, he decided to become a banker. Now, some of his young friends laughed at him, bringing him to the brink of tears. His dad and mom sat him down and told him, "Do not let anyone ever tell you what you can't be or do." And the rest is history. A born leader at Carter G. Woodson High School, Mr. Johnson was president of his class and the student body. Sound familiar? A major in banking and finance at the University of North Texas, 150 miles away from Abilene, in Denton, Texas, he had to stay off campus because on-campus housing was reserved for whites only. 3 years into his college career, two major events occurred. Football legend Mean Joe Green came to the university, and Ms. Maudie Sims arrived on campus. The arrival of one led to the integration of the dorms. The other marked the beginning of a new phase of Mr. Johnson's life journey as he acquired a lifetime partner, and they were married before Cliff graduated. The power of love. As you know, the couple have two lovely daughters, Marsha Lynn and Stephanie Paula Michelle, who graduated UCLA and Loyola Marymount, respectively. There are few people who have accomplished as much as Mr. Johnson has, yet his most cherished accomplishment is the eternal love and respect of his family and extended family. And that extended family includes each and every one of the invited guests here tonight. For me, it's been more than 3 decades since I first met Mr. Johnson. It was 1977, the corporate banking training class at Security Pacific Bank Corp. The cream of the crop. Newly minted MBAs from the top business schools throughout the nation: Wharton, Harvard, Cal, USC, Columbia, Stanford, UCLA. Highly competitive and focused, these were type A personalities that brought brains and killer instincts directly to the A-list at the top of the food chain. An heir to half of the Philippines, an oil giant skiing prep schools, the gilded platinum spoon children of the captains of industry. Then I met Cliff Johnson. Cliff was a branch manager at Rosecrans and Central Avenue. In Compton, with a broad, friendly smile, a firm handshake, a ready laugh, and a million wonderful stories. That day we became friends for life. Throughout the intervening years, I've watched Cliff, and I swear he hasn't changed one bit. Oh, the only thing that may be that when I worked for him, Les Tidwell and the staff gave me the heads up that when he was stressed out, he would begin to limp as he rushed around the office. So steer clear. Now he's limping most of the time. I suspect that the limp will disappear in return. Cliff is consistent. He loves people, he loves his family, he loves food, and he cherishes every single day. Oh, and he commands respect, big time. People recognize him as a genuine human being, humble but in charge, caring but pragmatic, a consensus builder without peer, always giving credit where credit is due and never seeking any for himself. Mr. Johnson is a man that one can only marvel at, for he is truly one of a kind, a man who embodies a life that matters. When Mr. Johnson touches your life, it is truly changed. I personally know scores of people from every background and ethnicity imaginable whom he has guided and encouraged to be more than they were before he met them, and in many cases, more than they ever could have imagined they could be. Each and every one of you in this room has a Cliff Johnson story and can probably recall the first time you met him. He is very, very special, and I am exceedingly proud to call him my brother. I can recall the time when Cliff was new to corporate banking and clients from the Midwest who had only dealt with him by phone came into town. Left in the conference room to wait for the first meeting to begin, Cliff was alone when the clients were ushered into the room without introduction. A brief moment of uncomfortable silence was broken when the senior vice president walked in and introduced Cliff. Clearly taken aback, the client stuttered out loud that he was glad to meet Cliff, but thought he was taller. Well, he is taller. Mr. Johnson is a giant that has impacted countless lives beyond measure. To Cliff, we in this room are all his family. We know how much he loves the work he has done in the community, how personally he takes every single client relationship, no matter how big or small, how every professional is another friend and opportunity to bond. A truly rare individual who brings love to the workplace and wherever he goes. Mr. Johnson will be missed, but never forgotten, because each and every one of you do matter to him. Tonight, it is my great honor and privilege to present to you, in celebration, Mr. Cliff Johnson.
Tom is my brother. We've gone through some real things together over 36 years. But before I actually say a few comments, I just have to take a minute. We have a special guest here. Frank Mariani, Jerry Buss's partner, could not be here this evening, but he asked that Pat Harris come up and actually give some remarks on his behalf and certainly the Buss family. So I want Pat to come up for just a minute.
Thank you, Cliff. The invitation stated that we're here to celebrate the career and retirement of Cliff Johnson. From my perspective, Cliff is not retiring. He's just starting another chapter in his life. To use an analogy from the automotive and tire industry, retirement should not be based on tread wear, but mileage. Cliff, you have a lot of treads to go. You're going to make a lot of giant footsteps in your next chapter. I think that I have known Cliff over 40 years. And in our conversations, I think he'd like to state that the foundation that he has comes from his mother and father in Texas. They made him the banker and the person he is. Also, foundation, his wife Marty, his daughter Lynn, and his daughter Stephanie. Cliff, when you look at his resume, started at Security Pacific National Bank, where I first met Cliff, and then he went to Union Bank, where he spent 31 years. For me, 32. For me, when I look at his resume, the one thing that stands out is his work with nonprofit organizations, assisting people who need services. One organization above all, I have to mention, the Watts Willowbrook Boys and Girls Club. That club serves a community with about 35,000 residents, all that need extreme need. I think Cliff, I can safely say over the 40 years that he has helped that club survive and thrive, has actually helped over 35,000 young minority men and women.
Wow.
A number that equals or exceeds the entire population of that community.
Wow.
That's
incredible.
outstanding.
Wow.
Another chapter when I look at his resume is that in the 80s, Cliff and I called that the Showtime 80s. At the time, I was the Vice President of Finance, Chief Financial Officer for the Los Angeles Lakers, Los Angeles Kings, and Mariani Bus Associates. Cliff was our banker. He was also the banker of the founding members of Mariani Bus, Frank Mariani and the late Dr. Jerry Buss. Frank could not attend tonight, but he wanted me to convey to Cliff and everyone here that on behalf of he and Jerry, they were extremely proud to call Cliff their banker. And above all else, he was a true friend. Frank also wanted to tell you, Cliff, that don't forget you and he are out for lunch next week. In closing, I have some words for Cliff, and they come from the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 16, verse 7. God measures a man with a tape around his heart, not his head. Cliff, when you're measured for your past chapters, present, and future, it's going to be a great measurement. I'm glad to be your friend.
Thank you so much, Pat. What Pat did not tell you was Pat was the first and only African American to be the CFO of an NBA team, and we worked together in the 80s to really support the Lakers. And I was just so proud of Pat and so proud to be able to support him. So thank you, Pat. Thank you to Dr. Buss, and thank you to Frank Mariani, who's my friend. I just, excuse me, this is just a very emotional moment for me, but you know, God is good. To see all of you here, tonight is indeed a special, special night, and I feel almost overwhelmed. My heart is full. I listened to my friend Pat Harris, and certainly my very best friend Tom Branch, who actually told a lot of my story. And I just can't help but to go down in memory. My mind goes back to the days in Texas when I was admittedly a bit of a dreamer. I was blessed with some, and I get choked up, some very wonderful, wonderful parents. Who my parents challenged me. They challenged me to be the best that I could be. I dreamed one day that I would make my parents proud, and that I would have a wonderful family, but never, never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that I would be where I am here now. I wanted to really thank God for bringing me such a mighty long way, and I want to thank God for you in my life. You with your encouraging words, your faithful support, and most certainly the trust that you've placed in me have played a powerful role in my motivating me to be the best banker and the community servant that I could be, and I thank you so very much. I'd just like to share with you, and I won't take a lot of time, a few of my memorable comments. And one of those very memorable comments, and there are just so many in my lifetime. Tom and I have fought the wars, but this goes back to one of them, and I just there are a couple of them that I'd like to share with you. And certainly one that I remember, one day I will never forget this, and that's the day Tom and I signed a paper transaction for a $14 million loan in 1995. This deal was the culmination of 10 years of very hard work, grooming a young African-American, black African-American, bright young technology African-American who grew up in Watts. What a day, what a feeling. I knew from that day until this one that my employment with Union Bank would position me to make an impact in wealthy and underserved communities. And as years passed, that certainly has been the case. Pat has talked about my situation with the Boys and Girls Club, which all of you know is my passion. And you heard my father say, never let anybody tell you what you can't do. Well, we embarked on a program, $3 million program. They told us, not going to happen. You don't have the board in this Watts community, it's not going to happen. Well, what did my parents say? You never tell Cliff Johnson what he can't do. And so certainly we embarked on it with a wonderful, wonderful team of individuals. And I don't like to call any names, but boy, at this time, I just, because you always leave out some individuals, but there's some key individuals that help us get this club and build this club. And I just want to acknowledge. Some of them are here tonight, and I just have to acknowledge them. Lyle Marshall, they were key. There were others. I'd take all night to do that. Lyle Marshall, Tim Mahoney, Cody Press was invited, but he's not here. My very, very close life friend and banker, Tom Ago. Tom, I love you, and Stanley. Tom's here, raise your hand. Lisa Real, Roy Roberts. Herb Wesson actually was critical in that area. And I have another very wonderful friend who actually helped seal the deal. And he's here. He's quiet, but everybody knows him. He's one of the most prolific attorneys in the entertainment industry. We have two of them, and I know you're doing the same. But Virgil Roberts was chair of the California Community Foundation, and we needed $1.8 million to close the deal. Nobody would give it to us. Virgil was the chair of the California Community Foundation, and he initiated a payment guarantee to allow us to complete that building. Virgil, I know you're here, so I just had to recognize you. Certainly, Virgil, Frank Mariani, Jerry Buss, James Worthy. James has been by my side for years, and Irvin Magic Johnson. All of these individuals came to me to help and support this wonderful effort. And we have some individuals here who continue to stand by me and support the Boys and Girls Club. And today, at 1339 East 120th Street, there stands a 27,000 square foot building that's worth $7 million. And certainly, I'm just so grateful that Union Bank was a key contributor to that project. And more importantly, however, they're thankful that Union Bank eased its policy and shared with me the great folks that I was able to work with in the Boys and Girls Club. And couple more areas, and then I'll leave it alone on the projects. Is one with that I was really close to me is the Torrance Chamber. When you look at Torrance, people say Black history in Torrance. All right. So we started a cultural involvement task force. That's right. And so I needed to get it going. So I said, who can I get to really lend some credence to this? And obviously, he's an icon in the room. Nobody knows that. Let me call on John Mack. John stepped up. Our first Black history. Dr. Shepard came up. We said we got Dr. Shepard, John Mack, and of course she's here. Barbara Glennie was the president. She guided my tour in Torrance. And we started a Black history program that's lasted for 13 years. It's become the largest fundraising effort in Torrance, and it educated the Torrance community about diversity and what needs to happen, and we brought in companies. And certainly Barbara Glennie, who is here. Barbara, I know you're here. She was president of the chamber. Just a wonderful situation. And the last memorable moment in my life, and this one gets me to choke up a bit, I'll share with you, and this is the last one. Later in my life, when I graduated from college, I was a banker. I had my banking degree, and my dad was with me. And I said, Dad, I'm going to be a banker, and I'm going to earn $1 million. I said, yes, son, I know. And so, yeah, keep reading. later on in life, they came to California. He followed me around. They followed my career. They went home and talked about all the things they were doing. And we were bonding in Las Vegas. And he loves to go. I took him and my mom and everybody, and we were bonding one evening. And I said, you know, Dad, I haven't been able to get you that $1 million. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. He looked me in my eye. He said, son, you're my $1 million. So generous, and that's where I get my commitment to community and generosity from. That chokes me up, but it's where my values come from. And as I close, I'd like for my family to come. Lynn,
Without my
Lottie,
shoes. Oh Lord, my shoes.
come
Put your
by.
shoes on. I gotta put the shoes on.
I know that,
One moment, please.
most of you know
Put the
that
shoes on. One
bankers
moment,
have a
please.
language of their own. One term we use is ROI, which means return on investment, right? Many of you have invested your substantial resources. However, all that you have invested is the most precious is time, encouragement, and quite frankly, love. Love, which is demonstrated by my special friend and client, Doris McClain, by opening up her home for us. Marty, who has been the wind beneath my wings for 47 years. My children, I love them dearly. Stephanie and Lynn, I just love you so much. Be assured that what motivated me to carry on for these many years was my desire to give you all that good return on your investment in me. It has been quite a journey I could only dream possible. Again, Dr. McClaney, this beautiful home set the stage for this wonderful, wonderful evening. And I thank you so very much. I'd like to thank our regional managing director, who is just a wonderful person, Steve Sherline, Ray Cherry. Actually, Ray is behind the scene. He orchestrated all this. Thank you so much, Ray. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you, the bank, for allowing me to continue to serve the community. Also, we have two individuals here who were getting you to sign the book, Dana Doris and Danya. Dana's here from Union Bank. And to my good friend, Susan Gillespie, who just stepped in. So, Michael, you're here. Well, I'm going to introduce all of you. All right. And all of my colleagues from Union Bank. Michael certainly is one of them, but all of my colleagues. And I'd like for all of the colleagues from Union Bank to come forward and stand by my side, because it's just wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here, and God bless you. Thank you.